Hey everybody, it is a very rainy and gloomy day here in London, and I thought that would be the perfect time to tell you a really beautiful story of something that has been happening lately in my language learning journey, which has been just a really nice unexpected surprise, and I love when these things happen. So I want to take you out there for a little rainy walk, and I want to tell you about it. Ooh. Let's go. So every language that I have learned has so many beautiful stories behind it, and they each have such a different feeling for me. My relationship with each one is so different and unique, but it's so special with every single one. I look forward to telling you a lot of those stories over the coming months because they just bring me so much joy, and I think they're really nice. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about Spanish, because if you've seen my channel for a long time, you'll know I've actually documented myself learning Spanish many times, going all the way back to 2014, I think again in 2015, 2016, living in Barcelona in 2017. And then I had my magical Christmas period in 2020, where Spanish really kind of rescued me. I mean, it was a really dark and cold, lonely time in my life where Spanish was like this companion, and it really felt like that. Like, that was a really magical time in my language learning, but also in my life. It was really fascinating. It's a bit windy. Train. Spanish is a language I've come back to over and over again, and it always just brings me so much joy. In the last week or two, I have found myself really reconnecting with Spanish in a very organic and unplanned way, where I'm doing various online courses that happen to just be in Spanish. I'm doing the courses because I want to learn the information inside of them. It's a coincidence that they happen to be in Spanish. And I found myself reading a comic book that is by one of my favorite artists and my favorite illustrators. And my primary reason for picking it up was because of the art, because I love her work, and I wanted to just enjoy gazing at all the images and following a story. And she happens to be from Spain, and it's all in Spanish. I frequently listen to my huge playlist of Spanish music when I'm cleaning or cooking or whatever. Like, Spanish is just this language that it just always comes back up. It always surprises me and delights me. And one of the things I've been thinking about is every time this happens, it makes me feel so grateful for all of the time I've put into learning Spanish. And it makes me so glad that I've come back to it again and again. And it makes me just reflect on how it's always so worthwhile coming back to your languages, whether it's for a week or for a month or for a season. It doesn't matter, because over the years, it really does all add up. And I just think it's so special. And I think that sometimes we can get discouraged when we don't manage to stick with something. I would love to just be able to study all my languages all the time and for them all to be at their best always, but it's just not practical. So for me, because I have studied so many languages, and because right now I'm mostly focused on learning animation, design, drawing, illustration, I just can't possibly be studying every language that I have learned in the past at all times. So it's just a part of life. I'm always gonna have to be taking time away from some things that I love. But I think that is actually part of the beauty of it, because whenever they pop back up, like Spanish is for me right now, it's such a delight. It's such a surprise. It's like meeting an old friend again after a long time and catching up and seeing how your lives have changed, and that friendship might now bring you new things that it didn't before, or it might remind you of things from the past that make you really happy. I just wanted to share this little message with you because, like I said, I've seen a lot of people over the years get really down and discouraged because maybe they plan to study Japanese every day for the next 2 years, and maybe after 6 months their priorities shifted, something changed in their lives and they had to take a break. And then sometimes it can feel really daunting to come back to it, because sometimes it can feel like, what's the point? Now I got to start over, or I've lost so much time, and then it just kind of goes on and on and on. So I just wanted to share with you today that it's always worth it. And even if it's a day, right? Like, for example, I spent 3 hours on Sunday, I think, reading this comic in a lovely, cozy coffee shop here in London. But it was so pleasant. It was so nice. And if I just stopped there, that would be so worth it. It would be so worth it. So I want to start doing more things together with you all, like I used to do on my channel. So I just want to encourage you, if there's a language that you haven't picked up for a while, something you used to love doing, maybe today, for 30 minutes or an hour, or however long you have, just pick it up. Just pick up a book, watch a film or a TV show, listen to a podcast, whatever it might be, listen to some music. But I just would encourage you to just go for it. Because for me, that's a big part of why I do this. I've spent so much time learning all these languages because I want to enjoy them. And it's kind of crazy how I spent so much time learning French and so much time building up the skills to be able to enjoy films, TV shows, podcasts, books. And I have a whole bookshelf upstairs full of books in French, some of which I have read, and they are some of my dearest memories, and some of which I haven't. I should spend more time with them from time to time, even if it's just an afternoon in a coffee shop, or perhaps sitting by my window watching the rain. I'm watching crazy people shoot YouTube videos with an umbrella, freezing outside. So on that note, why don't we head back inside? And I would like to share with you some of the things that have been bringing me joy with my good friend, Spanish. I'm using my yellow mug today. I really love this thing. It has a little saucer. Isn't it so nice? I just love it. So the first thing I want to share with you is this wonderful comic from Laura Perez. She is one of my favorite illustrators, and this is called Nocturnos, but I actually have several of her other books, and they are just gorgeous. And I'll show you inside a little bit in just a moment. I have a lot of books like this, just like really beautiful books that inspire me. And sometimes I just want to sit down and look at someone's incredible work and let it just wash over me and fill me with, inspiration. And it makes me imagine all the kinds of things that I hope to create. And a lot of times these are still images, but it makes me imagine how I would animate them and how I would make them move and bring them to life. And so I just picked up this book because I love her work. It didn't occur to me that it's written in Spanish. I picked it mostly because I just wanted to enjoy this beautiful piece of work from one of my favorite artists. And if we look inside, you'll see it is just full of beautiful work. And I just love the way she draws, and the limited color palette here is just wonderful. And yeah, it's really, really lovely. But there is actually quite a lot of very simple text and dialogue and description. If we look here, for example, right? And in fact, this whole scene here is actually quite nice. I obviously won't show too much because it is her book, but I highly recommend you buy it if you're interested. But you can see here, there are parts of the book that actually have quite a bit of dialogue. So as I was sitting there reading, it almost just caught me by surprise. Like, just the absolute delight of reading in Spanish. And it just brought all these like special feelings that only Spanish gives me. Each of my languages, it gives me a totally different feeling, and they're all magical, right? Like reading a book in Japanese, for example, or even Italian, it's a totally different feeling. And that comes from the different characteristics of the language and all the cultural context and everything. But it also just comes from the fact that I have spent years and years learning each of those languages. And so there's just so much sentimental stuff attached to each one of them, depending on the time of my life when I learned them, or where I was living, or all the different experiences I've had with each different language. I just think it's so magical. Like, books are just such a great example because I can just come here right now. Let's do it. If I pick out any one of these books in French, it is gonna just transport me to another world and to another time in my life. And of course, each individual book has a lot of meaning to me. And then if I was to pick out Seta in Italian, or perhaps Novecento, right? Like, these are books that I had picked for one of our multilingual book clubs back when I was living in Bristol. And so they not only take me back to Bristol, but of course, they take me back to Italian. And there are just so many examples, you know, like even this Män som hatar kvinnor in Swedish, like back at the time when I was very first picking this up and working my way through it very, very slowly. I could go on and on. We have all these books here in Mandarin and Japanese. So I just love how easy it is to just totally transport myself to a different time, a different place, a different world. And I should do that more often. And I want to bring you along because I think there's so many beautiful stories that I could tell you. And I just hope that maybe this video and others could just inspire some of you to do something similar. Or maybe you want to try something new. Maybe you want to pick up Spanish if you haven't already and give that a try. I don't want to suggest everybody go start learning a new language. This is a feeling that so far only languages seem to give me. It feels like something very unique because of how cleanly they just transport you, right? Like, watching a movie in itself is very broad and general, but if I'm watching a movie in Japanese, for example, there's something about it that it just really does just take me to a different place, and it gives me a certain feeling. And the entire time that I'm watching it, I'm almost watching it through the lens of my love for and my experience with Japanese and Japan. Same thing, like watching a show in Spanish is a completely different experience. All right, let's talk about two more things really quickly that have been bringing me a lot of joy with Spanish. So I take a lot of online courses. I just love it. It's genuinely one of my hobbies. I just think it's so fun and it's so exciting to just be able to watch some of my favorite artists and to be able to see their process and have them teach me the way that they do things. And I learn so much every single time. I just love it. And a lot of the courses that I have, they happen to be in different languages. And I can speak almost all the languages that I own courses in. And I didn't do that on purpose. It just worked out that way. And so I have a ton of courses that are in Spanish from people in lots of different countries. So I also get exposed to lots of different accents and things like that. But I also have courses in French, in Italian, in Japanese, German as well. So it's just really, really cool. This week, I picked up a course that I've already watched and I enjoyed it so much that I just wanted to rewatch some of the content because I just love the artist. His name is Pablo Cuello. He is from Argentina, so that's really fun. And he's just an incredible animator and illustrator. And I'm gonna show you just the first few seconds of the introduction video to the course. And I'll put the English subtitles on so you can read those. But I just wanna give you an idea of how fun this is for me.
Hola y bienvenidos a mi curso de animación cuadro a cuadro en Loop. Soy Pablo Cuello. Tengo un curso en doméstica de animación en After Effects, así que les dejo el link abajo por si lo quieren consultar. Soy diseñador gráfico, pero me dedico a la animación desde hace 5 años. Siempre estuve interesado en diversas cosas como la ilustración, el diseño, la música. Cuando descubrí la animación sentía que era una mezcla de todas esas cosas que me gustaban.
So yeah, I'm just watching this beautiful course, seeing him introduce himself, all of his work. There are lessons about the artist who inspired him. And then of course there's an entire course like going through his artistic process. And it's all in Spanish. And so I just love that. And I would like to make a whole video perhaps on this topic of doing courses and learning other things through the languages that we have learned. I think it's a wonderful way to sort of get extra practice and extra exposure. Like in my case, I've done tons of courses in Spanish and I never once considered it Spanish study or Spanish practice because Spanish is just a part of me now, just like most of my other languages are. So I just thought it'd be nice to share that with you in case maybe it inspires some of you to pick up a new skill using one of your languages. That was really nice. I love this big window. I sit here all the time. I just love it, especially when it's raining. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is music, which I think is possibly the most accessible and easy way to enjoy a different language, right? And I always collect playlists in different languages. And I think Spanish happens to be the most extensive one I have by far. I don't know why, I just have a particular love for Spanish language music. And I have a pretty large playlist that I've been curating for years now. Obviously, I can't play those songs here on a YouTube video, but what I do want to do is share that playlist with my Patreon supporters. So Espresso tier members and above, which is just $1, I will make a post today sharing that with you. But I would love to know any of your recommendations for some of your favorite songs in Spanish or other languages that you want to share. But for me, I can't describe the feeling I get when I turn on that playlist and there's so many songs ranging from really old stuff to more modern stuff, different genres, different eras of music, but it just brings me so much joy every single time. And I love that. I just can't imagine my life without music in all these different languages. And that's all I have for today. So thank you all for watching this video. I would really love to know if you like this kind of format, if it's too long, is it too rambly? I'm happy to try to make improvements, but for the next month or two, I do think I would like to just be here more often. I want to be connecting with you, discussing with you. I want to do stuff together with you, such as little random activities like getting back to a language for a day. So yeah, please let me know if you're okay with this kind of content. But for now, I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day, good vibes, and I will see you all very soon.